Hello everybody, I'm Rycharde the Bowman, and I'm from the barony of Gildenholt and in the kingdom of Caid. During lockdown, it's been long and kind of hard for a lot of us. I'm going to show you some of the things that I've finished off here in the past year and a half-ish or so. So, let's get started. Alright, so the first thing I've done is made this little bow saw. It's a hand bow saw. It's going to be made mostly for cutting things, typically like dovetails or small cuts. It would be the equivalent these days of a coping saw of some kind, and of course you can take this and tighten the blade up by moving this stick. I got the plans, I didn't get any plans actually. I found some pictures of this online for some old wood shop woodcuts that I've seen online, so I've been using that. So that's where I get the ideas. The blade, of course, I had to buy because I'm not going to make a blade. So I did this with hickory. The entire thing is made out of knotty hickory. So I turned the handle on both ends and cut these things out according to size that I thought would be right. And after that was done, then you make a stretcher to size to make sure you don't make it too small or too large to accommodate your blade. So there's that. Alright, so the next thing I've done is a couple boxes to put things in. This one is made out of maple with a walnut plywood top, and the bottom is also maple. And what I did with this was I reinforced it with some splines in the corners. See there? And I made it in such a way that you can kind of see from the top that the corners are all pretty tight, kind of tight. This is made so that I can put inside it whatever I can accommodate. This one is actually kind of shallow. Underneath, from the bottom to the underside of the cover is probably around 1.25 inches. There's not a whole lot of capacity on this one. I made this specifically for my wood chisels. So this one is also maple. It has this copobolo splines in the corners. So those are a little bit larger than the other one. And this box is also larger. And on this, I put some handles, finger holes right there on the ends, so it's easy to pick it up and move it around. There's feet on the bottom. And the cover on this slides out, and it's made in such a way that it captures all my chisels. So this way, the front end of the chisel is captured underneath here, so it can't actually go rattling around. And it can't lift out and come out because the top of the box is tight enough and short enough so that it actually comes very close to keeping them in place while they're being traveled around. That way they won't get bounced around and nothing touches anything. Ideal. So there's those. In my neck of the woods, I'm well known for my medieval war bows and arrows. Here are the fletches made of peacock and goose. On the left is a yew warbow, and it of course is going to have a horn notch on the end. From left to right is an early barbed type 16 arrowhead, a type 7 needlepoint bodkin, a heavy war bodkin which is used for plate penetration, and the infamous type 16 arrowhead is on the right. The next item is a lantern. This is a copy of a lantern that I found in a couple of different paintings dated back into the 13 and 1400s. So here is the first one, and this one is dated at 1375, and the second one is dated around 1411. And in both of these you can see this right here. There's one picture of it. And in the other one, there's actually a couple that apparently they hung from sticks of some kind to help disperse the light. So the lantern I've made here is made out of pine, just like these ones here seem to be. I just put a wax finish on it, since the ones in the pictures and the paintings also look like they had no finish or a very minimal one. So I just put a beeswax finish on it with the handle like the rest of them have. I also have these little vanes. I also have a door on it, so you can put in here whatever light of any kind you want to do. This is my lantern that I'll be using for upcoming events. The next thing that I've done is a replica of a Mary Rose tankard. I've spent a fair amount of time over in the Mary Rose Museum, been there a couple times. This is a picture of the Mary Rose. It was Henry VIII's flagship, and it sunk in the Solent just off the coast in 1545 while doing battle with the French. After a number of attempts were made to bring the ship up from the bottom, it was finally raised in 1982, and a museum was opened up to accommodate it. One of the things that was brought up was a tankard. This is one that was brought up, and you can see from the picture that it has come up complete with sand and water on the left, and then after some conservation and some rebuilding, you can see how it looks on the right. This is the one that you would now see in the museum. And this is the reproduction that I've made. It's very similar, as you can see, to the original. It also is made of the same components, where the body is made out of pine, the lid is oak, the handle is beech, and there are willow hoops. I've given it a shellac finish and a little bit of wax. Okay, so the last item I did was based on some research that I was doing about medieval peasants and how they may live in the buildings that they lived in at the time, how they were constructed, materials used, and so on. And I came up with this. This is a model of the different types of framing that they had back in the day. And the back, you can see this is a typical square frame, and you see this type of framing quite a lot, with a post and the beam going across in the center and just some straight rafters. I also have beams going across with knee braces. The next one, right here, is called a crux frame. You can see right into the middle of it. And you can see how it's actually bent. And that's because of the shortage of trees back then. This was a cheaper way to frame buildings, because if a tree had grown with a curve in it, then they could just take that tree, slice it down the middle, and make a mirror image, and they'd have two supportive frameworks that they'd be able to use in the building. In the process of that, of course, they would also need a collar beam of some kind. That was pretty typical. But what they also did was they always added this little feature here and here. So even though the beam was curved, they still wanted to have a straight line for a rafter, and also one on the wall, so that they could fill it all in with a wattle and daub, and with whatever roofing material, thatch or slate or something like that, on the roof. The one in the front you see is always one of my favorites. I've always liked this. This is a hammer beam frame, and the earliest I've been able to find any existing one is apparently in some school someplace in southern England or Wales area, and it dates to around 1250, 1270. So it's been up in this building, in this school, for quite some time. I made this as a 12 by 20 inches, complete with purlins and the ridge beam, of course, so I could show off some of these things that they had and how they framed their homes in that time frame. There was mostly oak. Sometimes they used fir or pine. It depends on what people had for budget and what was available. A lot of these kind of frame members from different homes were recycled quite often. So it depends on the person's situation in life and where they were, what they were able to do. But these are typical of frames in peasant homes, medieval homes, from around 1100 to around 1500. And some of these frameworks are still standing today over in England if you get a chance to go over there and have a look at them. As some of us know, doing a little research can sometimes lead us down a rabbit hole, and historical reproduction can sometimes get a little out of hand. Oh, you're still here. Well, hey, like I said, post your pictures, post your videos. Let us all know what you've been doing during shutdown. It's been a long time. It's going to be good to get out, but in the meantime, we've been busy doing things. Show us all what you've done. In the meantime, I have things to do.